I was just sitting back, really enjoying this film and enjoying the singular vision of Ari Aster, and he really just knocks it out of the park. I mean, this is a phenomenal, massive 3-hour art film that is completely watchable and is absolutely captivating with incredible performances, stunning art design, production design, incredible craft. It looks amazing on the IMAX screen. Honest to God, it's like just toweringly brilliant. Hello and welcome. My name is Malcolm. I'm here to give you my straight out of the theater reaction to BEAU is Afraid. I just saw it on IMAX on the big screen here at downtown Toronto at Scotiabank. It looks amazing on the big screen. It's spectacular. The images that are created and the acting. I mean, to have that kind of access to Joaquin Phoenix eyes writ large, 4 or 5 stories tall on the big screen. It really is a luxury to be immersed in such incredible performances and such incredible acting. The visionary look of Ari Aster's film is really stunning. Now, it might not seem intuitive to go see a dark, comedic, wild drama that's tinged with horror and dread on an IMAX screen. It just looks stunning. At every turn, BEAU is just never allowed to be happy. His character goes through so much trauma in this movie. It's almost overbearing, and anyone who is experiencing trauma or has experienced trauma, is in therapy, is dealing with issues that are difficult, that might cause anxiety, relationship issues. This movie really is a take on all of that, especially if you've lost a loved one or a parent, etc., and you're working through grief. This movie really speaks to you. It spoke to me in that sense, and I'd imagine it would do the same for you. The story is structured on 5 chapters, basically. The first chapter, we meet Joaquin Phoenix character BEAU in this derelict apartment in the worst possible part of town. It's almost a war zone. He can't even leave the apartment without fearing for his life and being attacked. And the production design here is really outstanding. And some of the wild characters in this whole movie is really a testament to Ari Aster's incredible vision and boldness as a filmmaker. It couldn't have been easy by any stretch of the imagination to pitch this movie, to make this movie. I can only imagine what an incredible, grueling task it must have been to make this movie, to motivate a crew, to motivate creatives, bend so far into his vision. It really is a staggering achievement, regardless of how the movie lands for you. I think you'll find quite a divergent opinion on this film already, even as it's just approaching its opening release tomorrow. I was very engaged by the film. My bum was very sore after 2 hours. I won't lie about that. But I wasn't fidgety. I wasn't annoyed. I wasn't, oh, when is this going to be over or anything like that. I really gave myself over to the film. I mean, perhaps I heard a bit of buzz going in that some opinions, some parts of the response to the movie were less than favorable. So I guess I had my expectations lowered slightly going in. Maybe that helped a little bit. But I actually really enjoyed this movie, and I think it's a very bold film. And I think Ari Aster could have very easily, stayed comfortable in his genre that he's built over his last 2 films. His first one, Hereditary, and then following with Midsommar, with that, the horror, folklore horror vibe that he's so good at. So I think it was a really big stretch for him to take a massive swing with this movie, and it's really an incredible character study on this character, BEAU, played by Joaquin Phoenix. It's not your screaming from the rooftop kind of like, this is the greatest performance ever movie or take on acting. But this really is a very interior performance, and I think this is exactly the kind of performance that gets overlooked, because I think lay people who don't really understand what it takes to act, to be in front of a camera, to engage with your humanity in front of a crew and in front of all these machines and technology and lights, and may not understand the difficulty that a nuanced performance that is so incredibly emotionally demanding, so psychologically demanding, of Joaquin Phoenix. He really just delivers in such subtle, grounded, scary, traumatic, frightening way. It's so unique. I can't imagine off the top of my head too many actors lining themselves up for this kind of, well, let's be honest, this kind of torture, because this was a very, very grueling performance, and I have no doubt it'll be overlooked because it is very subtle and very, very interior. Like, there's some close-ups. There are a stunning amount of long shots, but there are a lot of close-ups, where it's just on Joaquin's head, and that head is 6 stories tall on an IMAX screen, and it definitely was purpose shot for IMAX. This is not some gimmick. This really does work in IMAX, and I thought it was stunning. I thought it was just breathtaking to see that level. I mean, can you imagine as an actor on stage, in a studio, and you're emoting in the most minute way in front of these giant cameras? I mean, it has to be intimidating, and I think we forget that when we're sitting there as an audience, understanding the story. And so that's my take on the acting. I thought the acting was phenomenal. It's so immersive, and the movie itself is just epic. It's such a massive film. Just the structure of it, and the different stages it goes through. So yeah, I described the first stage, which is this derelict, sort of like blown out Beirut version of a seedy Times Square from 80s New York or something. Just wrap that up to 10 and make it a terrorist zone, and that's your first chapter. And then it goes into the next chapter in the most brilliant comedic transition that I've seen in a long time. The audience was howling, and it really is wild. And that's what's so wild about this film. It has such a great dark sense of humor, and there's always these turns that kind of relieve the pressure. And you really have to give it to Ari Aster, because that is top level expertise directing, when you can introduce dark comedy and still engage an audience and still give them this very obscure story. This is not a straight ahead sell of like, here's your hero's journey, or here's your your 12 stages, your enter the innermost cave, and Gandalf and Frodo. Like, it's nothing like that whatsoever. But it's very epic. It's it's almost like Citizen Kane in its scope of understanding this big character writ large on the big screen. But the funny thing is, it's like a really small character. It's Beau. Beau is a character who's let everything happen to him, and he hasn't taken any volition in his life. And so basically, it's the antithesis of the hero's journey. It's like everything's happening around him all the time, and he's just absorbing it and basically being traumatized physically, mentally, psychologically, emotionally, one turn after another. So the second stage, he ends up, this family adopts him, and I won't say how it happens, but and again, the dark humor comes in because he's being traumatized by a teenage girl, and it's just absolutely hilarious. It's darkly funny, it's scary, it's entertaining, it's wild. And then the third stage is like really brilliant. It's this, he ends up in this forest, and he meets this traveling theatrical troupe, if you will, and that's where you might have seen in the trailers and some of the art, these flat constructions to make a theater play, right? These flat backgrounds and trees, and I think it's part of the poster even. So that's in the third stage, and it's just wild. It's so imaginative and beautiful and playful and dark and funny and emotive. I was all in on that. And then the fourth stage, the bigger story starts to reveal itself, which is Beau's relationship with his mother. There's a lot of flashbacks to when he was a kid on this cruise ship, when he met his first love. And he has a very domineering mother, and that's the through line of the whole story is how does he deal with this overbearing mother. And so he, when he goes to counseling, he's working through his issues that he feels his mother's lied to him his whole life. And so I think some of these are issues that resonate with all of us. We all have experiences in our lives from our parents and our other relationships that we're constantly working out. And this film approaches it from a dark, humorous, psychological interiority that is so unique. Really, there isn't a film like this, and I think it's a stunning achievement. I really do. I think it's just a marvelous film, It's not an easy watch by any means, but it is a very captivating watch. I didn't have any issue with the film in sort of like, oh, it's not delivering me the kind of movie I want to watch. It's not giving me the willing suspension of disbelief. I have to work so hard as an audience to enjoy this film. I didn't really feel any of that. I was just sitting back, really enjoying this film and enjoying the singular vision of Ari Aster, and he really just knocks out of the park. I mean, this is a phenomenal, massive 3-hour art film that is completely watchable and is absolutely captivating with incredible performances, stunning art design, production design, incredible craft. It looks amazing on the IMAX screen. Honest to God, it's like just toweringly brilliant. My initial take from the trailer was it looked like Schenectady, New York, that Charlie Kaufman movie, where, Philip Seymour Hoffman at this stage and Joaquin Phoenix, they kind of share a parallel in where they're at now in their careers, like where Philip Seymour Hoffman was when he did Schenectady, New York. There's a lot of similarities here in my observation with that. And I don't want to give away the fifth stage, which is once he works out his relationship with his mother, he ends up at another stage, which I thought was just brilliant. It has a bit of a callback to a Roman Colosseum, and I won't tell you what is going on there, but it was really meta in a sense, because I'm sitting in this giant IMAX screen, and it's like the production design of that final scene. It's like you are made to feel as if you are one of the people at this Colosseum event in the final stage of the film. Again, incredible art design throughout the whole film. It really is stunning. There's even an Easter egg for Midsommar fans that I caught in the final stage, which I won't give away. But I thought it was a neat little. It's so quick, only a true Ari Aster Midsommar fan would catch it. I'm not as familiar with Hereditary, so I'm sure there's some Easter eggs there too, maybe for Hereditary fans. I just want to counter some of the bad press I've been reading about this film, because it isn't true at all. And nor is it true that this is some lousy film that's being propped up by film Twitter and, it's only made for cineists. And I don't think that's true at all. I think it's just a beautiful, stunning film. And it's definitely not a mainstream popcorn, blockbuster movie by any means. And nor is it, continuing on the horror acumen that Ari Aster has built up to this point. But that's what's so great about it, because Ari Aster is saying, look, I'm an artist, I have other ideas too, and I can adapt my style to different forms, and I can present something unique and totally different. And why shouldn't he? Like that is a really bold move. And some people are pointing out the budget of this film, which is a little bit higher than most, and so they're calling it out, saying, well, it never even has a chance to ever make that money back. But I think that's a kind of a myopic view of things. Like, we're talking about art here, so we're talking about film and vision and story, and we're talking about getting to the core of the human condition and humanity and relationships and why we're here. And this film, like all the great films, it really does deconstruct the human condition, and it really gives you an insight into life, into the struggle of the human condition, and like no other, really. I mean, and this is all on Joaquin Phoenix's shoulders here. Like, he carries this film like, oh my God, it's just stunning. 3 hours. It's such a grueling epic, and the man is just indefatigable, if I could use a massive word. Like, he cannot be beaten down, and he has this joie de vivre, this joy of life underneath this misery. Like, you can feel the child behind his eyes throughout the film, and that's a really beautiful, tender, touching thing about this film. So, as you can tell from the energy and enthusiasm I'm presenting you with here after just coming out of this movie, that I actually really like this movie a lot, and I think it's a great film, and I really want to see it succeed, because it's a bold artistic vision, and it's huge. And I think Ari Aster really pulls it out. That first stage is so exciting and visceral and fun, and you're right there. And then the second stage at the adopted parents' home is wild as well. It's so fun. And then the third stage in the forest, again, I found that beautiful, very entertaining, and very imaginative. it's so touching. And then the fourth stage, we get more to the plot, and there's some incredible performances there. Patti Lupone, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, I hope. Incredible performance as his mother in that fourth stage. Just absolutely brilliant. So strong, so grounded. And oh my God, I have to call your attention to Parker Posey. My God, there's not enough Parker Posey in this movie. She is just stunning. So beautiful, so powerful, and one of the greatest sex scenes in film, for sure, is her and Parker and Joaquin in the fourth stage of the movie. Like that's worth the price of admission alone. Everything else hasn't been up until this point. It's such a wonderful, wild scene. And then the fifth stage, which, as I mentioned, is a bit of a Roman Colosseum in its set design. Again, I'm getting flashes of Gladiator, because you've got Joaquin Phoenix from Gladiator in this giant Roman kind of Colosseum, right? So again, I don't want to say too much about it because it's just wonderful. And yeah, so I guess I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching. That's my out of the theater reaction for Ari Aster's BEAU Is AFRAID. I highly recommend it. It's an incredible film. Just be prepared to relax and soak it in. I would recommend not coming in, jonesing for a fix of like, this isn't, Fast X, or, it's not that kind of visceral horror. This isn't designed to manipulate you overtly, through structure of plot, through adrenaline fixes, that kind of thing. This is really a very deeply expressive movie, and I think we're going to hear more about this film when more people take the time to soak it in. I mean, if you can sit through 3 hours of James Cameron's CGI whales, I think you really owe it to yourself to come and enjoy a 3-hour epic of the human condition, with just such a genuine, touching performance from Joaquin Phoenix. Honestly, I think this is a real knockout film, and I think anyone who comes out with an open mind and wants to experience this film, I think they're going to take a lot away from it. I think it has a lot to offer. It has a ton of things you can deconstruct about it, talk about, and just analyze and luxuriate inside this movie. So I think it's a fantastic film, and I think Ari Aster is really taken his work to the next level, and I'm totally behind this film. I think it's incredible. What an accomplishment. So let me know in the comments what you think, if this movie, if you appreciate this movie, or if it just doesn't hit for you. I'd really be curious to hear what your take is on this film. So hopefully you get a chance to see it, and I do highly recommend seeing it on an IMAX screen. Don't for a moment think that it's not purposely made for that. It really is. It is absolutely purposely made. Some of the big scenes are top to bottom. They fill the IMAX frame. It was shot in IMAX, I'm sure, and it just looks stunning. So, all right, I'll stop talking. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching and for being here. Let me know what you think of BEAU Is AFRAID, and take care out there. It's such a pleasure to have you. We'll see you on the next one. All the best. Cheers. I just want to thank all my new subscribers. You inspired me to come back and make some more videos. I've been focusing on my written reviews, and I started a Substack because I really want to unpack movies and really understand them. My background is in film and television, acting and editing. Let's wind this up. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you on the next one.